Yo, I'm Eumonik, here today to show you 6 ways to create unique transitions using iZotope vinyl. Taking a closer look at vinyl, I'll be featuring the Spindown effect, the year selector, or what I like to call the decade filter, all the different noise to include mechanical, electrical, dust, and scratch. And lastly, wear, which adds some high frequency roll-off and distortion. Use the year or decade filter. During the introduction, we're in the 1950s, and then when the beat drops, it switches to 2000. Check it out. Oh, and there's a bunch of noise and stuff happening as well, but we'll get to that later. The years that you can select have different filter responses, and it thins out the sound the further back in time you go. So I think it gives it a nice way to thin the sound out, and then once it comes in during that transition, it'll get fuller as you set it back to 2000 and beyond with the iZotope vinyl spinning around. I also used the decade filter for the drums, but instead of automation, I recorded them separately with different filters applied and then chopped it up and added them all together. You can hear as it goes through, the sound gets fuller and it gets a little bit louder because some of that bass and the fullness comes back in. Apply it to the master track to add even more emphasis during the transition. So for the first part of this, we're stuck in the 1970s, and then when everything comes together, open it up, 2000, full sound, all of the frequencies. Check it out. This example is subtle, but of course we could change it to 1930s and it would really show you how this adds more impact during those transitions. Use automation to enable spin down during a transition. You can see right here is where spin down will be activated, and then it's turned off right here and returns the sound back to the original speed. As you can hear, it changes the timing and the pitch, giving it a little bit more movement and an element of surprise before the beat drops. The spin down effect lasts for about 3 seconds, and regardless of where it is at in that process, once you turn it off, the sound is returned back to the original sample, which gives it a nice, solid, clean transition. Automate spin down on the master track. In this example, I'm using it for the outro. Using spin down on the master track may come as a surprise, but that's kind of the point. It changes the pitch and the timing of the entire track, and I think it works well for the outro. Record spin down to a separate track and then reverse it to kind of create a buildup. Check it out. Now we take that sound and reverse it, and this is what we get. This is a subtle example, but when spin down is reversed, you get the increase in pitch, which adds some energy before the transition. To create that sound, I'm using automation to enable spin down at the point I want it to start, and then I'm recording the output of that to a separate track. Once that sound is recorded, I'm going to edit the start and stop of the sample so it lines up with the grid, and then I'm able to reverse it, and it should sound something like this. Automate noise as a buildup. I used mechanical and electrical noise to introduce chaos before the beat drops, and then as soon as it does, all the noise goes away and cleans everything up. Check it out. Pun intended, this does get noisy, so flavor to taste. Create a noise sweep or crash to add impact. This unconventional method does require a few additional steps, but I do like the character of the impact that it adds. To create that sound, I used the noise features in vinyl until I found something that I thought was noisy enough. Once that was set, I recorded the output of that noise to a separate track and then hit spin down while recording. Once that's done, you end up with a custom noise sound effect that you can use for future projects as well. You can use it wherever you want to. Lastly, automate where to add some crunch and distortion. I used it on the harp for the first part, and then once the beat drops, that goes away, but you can really hear how it changes the characteristic of that vinyl sound. This is another simple change, but it adds contrast to make those transitions even more powerful. With this free plugin from iZotope, there's all kinds of ways to add character to your tracks, including stereo imaging using the warp feature, but that's for a future video. So make sure that you're following and subscribe to iZotope. While you're at it, go to iZotope.com, get the free iZotope vinyl and a bunch of other plugins to help you make more music. Peace.